Battlefield Redsec has a lot of people, including myself, hooked, but in learning a new game, maybe you're like me and you're thinking, okay, well, how can I do better? Whether that be more wins, more kills, more XP, all of the above, today we're taking a look at our tips to improve in Battlefield Redsec. Feel free to drop your thoughts down below if you've got anything you'd like to add to the list. We're all here for the same reasons, to improve together as a community. But if you enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like, and of course, consider subscribing for more Battlefield 6, Redsec, Arc Raiders, and even more FPS content as we chase down 700,000 subscribers together. But for now, let's get into these tips. So one of the big things, of course, with Battlefield comes down to team play. I think that's a good place to start because, of course, one of the core tenets of Battlefield is playing your role, playing with your squad for your squad. One of the biggest things is to simply play in your designated squad. Now, I know that sounds stupid to say, but if it's at all possible to play with someone you have easy communication with, absolutely do that. Or have your game chat mic on if you're filling duos or quads so that you can end up jumping in and actually being able to utilize your teammate, helping them out and having them help you out. Dropping together is also something that right out of the gate is something incredibly beneficial. If you're breaking off solo, land relatively close. One nice thing that I do like about Redsec's early game, admittedly, is that drop leader feature that initially tethers you and your squad together. Taking that from Apex and other games with that feature, it's a nice way to land as a group and keep that unit tight, which in gunfights will win you most engagements. You can break off from your squad if you'd like to, but if we're trying to win more gunfights, have a better time, I'd recommend if you do this, at least again, to stay relatively close to your squads so that you can offer assistance or get assistance if the situation gets a little too hot with enemy combatants. Additionally, work together for objectives and revives. One of the big things here that you'll notice in Redsec is things like redeploy stations. The more people you have on that objective, the faster it's going to go to get your teammates back in the fight. So, of course, if you are the last man standing, there's nothing that really can help you out there. But if you're playing with like a random, try and get them to jump onto the point as well to get your one squad mate or two squad mates back, whatever the case here. Next, loot everything. The beauty of this game right now especially is that ground loot's actually viable, in some cases perhaps even preferred. Look for those weapon upgrades you may have in loot and make sure you use them. I know that sometimes that inventory may not be the first thing you look to, being so closely tethered to the scoreboard that you have to tap versus hold, but make sure you're checking to see if you have those and actually use them, because this makes that ground loot even better, offering a range of things that you can improve upon statistically, like your magazine quantity, attributes for mobility or control across multiple steps of upgrading, taking that weapon that could have just been a this is all I got, into something you might actually want to use. Takes those already viable weapons and makes them even more useful. Completing missions early and often is also something that is tremendously important here at this. This will grant you some great loot early game, whether it be just like a weapon supply crate or something, giving you a couple of guns, some ammo, and all that kind of stuff, all the way down to maybe getting a tank that can really help your squad out. Now, while you can take them out, they are a huge pain to deal with, so if you have one of those at your disposal, just by simply doing some missions, it's worth doing in my opinion. Next, let's talk a little bit about combat. Burst and tap firing are still the absolute best options. While bloom and bullet spread was something that was fixed to a degree with Season 1, it was bugged previously from the launch of Battlefield 6 up to Season 1, one thing to consider is that bloom and that spread is by design inherently as well. So like what we saw at the launch of Battlefield 6 was exaggerated. It was something that was actually bugged, but it's there by design even when fixed, meaning that holding down that trigger will create a dispersion pattern that's not pinpoint accurate to where your reticle is pointed to, meaning over range, that cone of bullet spread may look on target, but it could also just be painting an outline of your enemy by default. Tap firing or burst firing is a way to mitigate that, allowing your weapon to come to rest and reset to be pinpoint precise on those next couple of shots. So doing this will make sure you're landing as many shots as possible to be as accurate as your intended aim point. Next, use your gadgets accordingly. I'll use myself as an example. If you're a recon like me, you can still get things like defibs from the ground. You can still get launchers from the ground. You can have all those tools available to you that are mismatched with class per se, but the passives are the things that you really want to pay attention to when selecting your class going into the match here. So for me, I love sniping in Battlefield Redsec. Like, I actually think that it feels so fun to do. To land that shot just feels so rewarding. But if you want those like more accurate passives for sniping, you'll of course want to be recon, but you can still contribute to your team in those other ways by picking up and utilizing those gadgets as you find them. Not to mention, again, you can pick up launchers the whole time as well. That's not any class locked item, which is hugely important for armored vehicles and tanks in particular. So pick a class based off what passives you enjoy that helps you and your team, but then make sure you go from there and pick things up accordingly that can also help out a little further. Focusing fire is a huge thing that is something that relates back to that first tip of just working with your team in general. This goes for any situation. If you're playing together as a squad, coordinate shots when possible. Maybe like pick off an enemy that's an individual player separated from their pack. Get them at a disadvantage. You knock one player, finish one player off. Well, if you're playing squads, that's 4-3 right there. You have the man advantage that is more often than not going to lead to you getting a team wipe there. Obviously, that kind of stuff isn't possible 100% of the time, but if you're able to communicate that kind of stuff and focus on the singular objective, taking out individual enemies, it's going to help out tremendously. Additionally, more importantly speaking, talking about things we just mentioned, it's important to focus fire on that enemy armor. Whether it's a helo coming towards you or a tank, grab your squad's attention and take it out before it becomes a bigger threat by isolating a player out or two, picking them off, and then you're just severely outnumbered. Like 1 or 2 players up against the tank is going to be a much harder task than all 4. Strength in numbers when it comes to heavy armor is absolutely key. And that's also why I'd suggest utilizing those gadgets accordingly a couple of seconds ago, because you can end up taking launchers and having them on your person that they are going to be beneficial, that if you have multiple, well, that tank, they're not going to stand a chance. You can have an engineer in there repairing that thing, but it's not going to do them any good when you've got 2, 3, 4 rockets coming all at once. Anyways, let's talk about some map and situational awareness to round out our sort of categories of tips here. Firstly, the ring will do damage to you as you're close to it, but is deadly if you're trying to make a comparable gas play to something like in Warzone. So make sure that you're always conscious of where that ring of fire is. Obviously, you do have that HUD indicator of how far away it is for you. It'll visually change what your screen looks like the closer and closer it gets to you. And of course, once you're way too close to it, it will start doing damage and having those like burn and flare effects actually on your HUD. But make sure you're conscious of that. And also with that, notice that there's probably going to be a lot of people playing with the zone. In any battle royale, positioning can be everything. So if you have the opportunity to get ahead of where some players may be and you know they're going to be forced in by the ring, you can cut them off and hold that power position over them. Oppositely, it's tough to get out of those situations if you are the ones riding the zone, which sometimes, yes, you have to do that. Sometimes there are teams fighting it out around you. You're trying to sneak around them, whatever the case may be. But just be conscious of that ring and what it can do, and then alternate positions to put yourself into a better scenario to win a gunfight or to just simply stay alive. Next, keep an eye out on your minimap when possible. I'll tell you, from the years of muscle memory checking the minimap in Warzone and such in the upper left of my HUD, looking at it on the bottom left positioning is indeed such a switch up and it throws you off. But it's got key, important information. Enemy locations in the vicinity when it comes to red dots when they're firing, their elevation in relation to you, airstrike and other aerial warnings with a radius, and more. I'll be honest, that in particular is something that is incredibly beneficial to look at and know where you have to go if one of those gets called in, because I've gotten quite a few kills because I've seen people start to scramble when they see that on-screen notification pop up, but because they're not looking at their minimap, they don't know exactly where they should be going. So sometimes, instead of getting out of the range of it, they're going to go right into the epicenter of it, making it just easy free kills. So knowing where to look and identify that kind of stuff is hugely important. This can save your life in a number of situations just by periodically taking a peek at it. Next, be pinging as often as you can. Never hurts to have more and more information to work with, whether that be pinging other players, locations where you may have spotted something, vehicles, caches, whatever the case. Just make sure you're pinging and giving that information to your team, especially if you're communicating with like a random that doesn't have a mic or you don't have a mic. It's just a way to give that heads up and so everybody's on the same page. And finally, in the map and situational awareness category, one of my favorite things to talk about with Battlefield 6 and the Battle Royale here is that if you got a squad posted up in a pesky building, take it down. I mean, I think it's so cool to be able to say that for a Battle Royale, in my opinion. With how many games we've had in the genre, there's not much a cooler feeling, I think, than completely obliterating an obstacle in your path. So if it's giving you some trouble, take it down, man. But anyways, that's a few tips here that I think can help improve your game in Battlefield Redsec. Some of these may be more commonplace. Some might be something that you just don't think about too often. Like, coming back to me, I think that minimap tip is one of the biggest things that it's so simple, but so many people don't do it. So if you can incorporate these tips, simple is often better, doesn't lead to as many mistakes. Keep those things in mind, and I bet you'll see that gameplay experience get a little better. But anyways, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. Anything you would like to add to this list, any tip that you would give to a new or veteran player alike, whatever the case, drop your thoughts. If you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, drop a like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Battlefield 6, Battlefield Redsec, Arc Raiders, and even more FPS content in the future. I've got you covered here on the channel, and I'd love to have you in the community. For now though, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care. and peace.